All right. Much. Already don't have two up today. Tiny bit. I'm not kind of a work stream, if you will. I'm not exactly watching the chat all the way, but pull up the Discord. I a couple messages in the help with, and back to me in there. So let's do that. All right. So jumping straight in today, I'm just getting into PRs for the day. Starting out with this one, which is, are we in requests? Yeah, requests. This was a PR from this person, first-time contributor. Actually, I didn't recognize this name. I think this may be the first or one of relatively few contributions to the CircuitPython libraries, so that's awesome to see new folks always. They basically made a way for handling responses to requests, right? Because this is a request library, you can send GET and POST requests to servers and then read the response that you get back. Originally, you could access a single one of the cookies, or kind of peeling back the curtain a bit for folks that don't necessarily know how all of this stuff goes together. I have sort of a vague understanding, certainly not an expert by any means, but I've got enough to get by. When you make a request to a website, so for instance, we loaded Adafruit.com, technologically speaking, what is happening is our computer, in this case our browser program, our browser client, specifically in my case right now, Firefox, is sending what's called a GET request, G-E-T, all capitals typically like this over here, GET request. We're sending that to the server. Server then sends us back a response. When we do send our request, we're able to add some cookies to it. So in this case, the browser added all of these cookies to it. Some of them are things like tracking cookies, GA1. I'm assuming this is probably Google Analytics or something like that. Yeah, so that's like tracking stuff there. User agent, like, what kind of browser it is, what kind of OS it is, sometimes just some basic information about the system, which could be helpful for troubleshooting if there turns out to be a problem with any particular browser or whatever. Also things like what type of encodings and what type of language we're expecting to get back. So we send all of these request headers off to the server with our GET request, and then when the response comes back, it can include some headers as well. It can, of course, include actual data. In this case, the actual data being the web page, the HTML, JavaScript, and CSS that represents the web page is the actual response data. But there is also some response headers, and one of the response headers is the set cookie header. And this is you probably have heard about cookies before, especially more recently. If you use any major websites that have, especially if they have users that are in Europe, they passed, I don't know the name of the law, but they passed some kind of law in Europe where lots of websites have to be more upfront about which cookies they collect and what they do, and give users the switches to turn them on and off. COPA? No, I don't think that's right. That's like Child Online Protection Act. That's a different thing, I think. Yeah, I don't know which one it is. I'm still sort of on my first coffee here, waking up for the morning, so I don't remember the exact name of this, but there was some law in I believe all of Europe where they had to make this change and started doing this, like, do you accept all these cookies, and if not, do you want to turn off the ones that are non-essential, all of that sort of stuff. So if you hadn't heard about cookies before, you probably have more recently because of that change, because lots of well-known websites started adding that pop-up in order to be in compliance with that law. But anyway, we're about off the track a bit, aren't we? So set cookie response, this comes back to us as a header in the response, and these basically just contain like key values, right? The name here, the key is cart count, the value is 0. There's also some meta information like what time it expires, what the max age is, what the path was, a couple other pieces of meta information, but the actual cookie data right here is this one, which happens to be cart count 0. And then we actually see a second set cookie here, wish list equals deleted. This also has similar metadata. but the actual data, again, is this key, the name, wish list, and the value of deleted. So cookies are just like a key value storage, kind of like a dictionary in Python. There is this bit of extra information like expiration dates and max ages and things along with it. But at their core, it's kind of this key value idea. The key is cart count, the value is 0. The key is wish list, the value is deleted. And what this PR does is make it so that multiple set cookies will work. It used to be if you got a response with only one set cookie, if you were making the request from this library, right? This is all we're talking about, making the request through this library, Adafruit CircuitPython requests. If you made your request through here, you could get access to one set cookie, but not multiples. And so this person made a PR to allow you to get access to all of those cookies, multiple set cookie headers, which is exactly what we're seeing here on Adafruit, adafruit.com. We're seeing multiple set cookies. And so that's what I was trying to test with. However, we're almost caught up. You're almost caught up to where I'm at, I should say, which is that I was trying to test this out with Adafruit, and I'm getting a weird sort of behavior where when I send the request from the PC inside of Firefox right here, you can see I'm getting the 2 set cookies. So we do see 2 cookies here. You'll have to me as well. I'm somewhat distracted. My cat has learned a new fun game of trying to climb windows, and the windows on our front door. Trying to not let him do that. So very interested in doing that, and I'm very interested in him not doing that. And so we'll see who holds out longer. But if I pop up and run out of frame real fast, that's probably I'm just going there. Anyway, though, the weird thing here is that we see the 2 set cookies here when we access this web page in Firefox, but when we access the same page in from the requests library here on a PyPortal device is specifically what I used, I only have only 1 set cookies. So I don't know if, one of 2 things is happening. Either the library is still not quite working right, because I'm using the modified version that came from this PR, which was supposed to add this functionality to it. Either that functionality is not quite working right in my context, which is ESP32 SPI in my case on a PyPortal. So that's kind of one option. Or the other option is the server could return different cookies based on something in the response. Like we saw here, we're sending request headers as well. The browser is sending all this extra data on our behalf. The request library may or may not be sending any of that extra data, and possibly the server kind of fine tunes what it returns based on what you sent it. So, hey, get down. Here we go, starting it up early. Buddy, I know you want to, but there's there. You need to climb the windows. Where was I at here? Yeah, I'm sorry. This is gonna be a bit of a back and forth here for me. All right. I apologize. That's probably going to be happening a few more times, is my guess. Window open now. That'll pacify him for a couple of minutes. Where was I at? Okay, so yeah, we're not seeing the same amount of cookies. Either the library still has a bug in it, or the server is not returning to us the 2 cookies for whatever reason when we make the request from the PyPortal. So we're trying to find other places we can test that we know for sure are going to return 2 cookies. TechTrick has set up a very, very simple web backend service on Heroku, which I've never used personally myself. I think it's like a cloud server service, though. You can make like virtual machine servers up there and run your own backend software on it. And he has set this this testing one up, which there's two endpoints, one that returns a single cookie and one that returns 2 cookies. So we can test this as well. So let's do that. That's kind of where I'm at. Now you're all caught up. It only took about 10 minutes, which is not too bad with a brief cat intermission. Chilled a bit. He's sitting there sniffing the air. I opened the window for him. It's a little cold, honestly, though, so we'll see how long. It's on the other side of the room, so we'll see how long it takes for it to make me cold when I go and close it. But so this is on the Pi portal. I'm gonna see here. I'm gonna change this real fast. Right now it's happens to be a cookie that has my location and what looks like a GPS coordinates. I haven't plugged them into a map software to know how accurate it is, but I would also just as soon not necessarily show GPS coordinates. So I'll kind of clear this off a bit, and we can jump back to the camera. So yeah, this one is going to fetch Adafruit. It's only going to, I mean, it will, sometimes it fails too. Like, that's the thing about doing the web requests is sometimes it doesn't go through. So maybe it fails and we retry a couple of times. But what I have been seeing, yeah, in fact, it did. Sending request failed. What I have been seeing, though, is that when it does succeed, I'm getting a single, or at least the library is reporting a single set header. Maybe one thing we could do is go inside the library a bit and print some extra stuff out, or I think there's a verbose. Maybe verbose would print that stuff for us. Yeah, here we go. We see one header, or one cookie, I should say. So let's see here. It will be a little bit different here. In order to use TechTrick's test server, basically, whoops, we're basically, wanting, I need to change this over to a post. And I'm going to start with the single cookie one. It seems good to start with sort of the base case that was already working before this change. What all else? I guess maybe it's this. I'm not sure. One thing is, I noticed some of the code here has like days of the week. I'm not sure I follow. Or I guess the way that this works internally, and I haven't looked specifically at the actual code internally, I just started testing it out. I guess the way that it's making this work is internally it's finding the multiple set cookies and then appending them together, commas, and we're breaking them back apart here. Where is that? Request failed. So yeah, like I said, that does happen sometimes. We can just retry. There we go. Okay, so we got cookies received, cookie 1, something 1. So that does look good to me. So now If it was just add an S for plural. See if we can get 2. Would be nice to have one of these that does a GET request, because I would love to see in the browser. Does I have like post Insomnia? Oh, right, I stopped using those things because you can actually do this inside PyCharm. I never remember how. Can do it over here, I guess. Oh, failed to request. Let's restart it. And when you make like actual project code, the best practice is put try catches and retries, you know, to catch those errors and then retry again. No, I still only got one. Tricky B, something B. Browser. The one thing I'll do is try this on a ESP. Best way probably to is going to be copy this code. Well, just end up having to change a bunch of this back, right? Because I originally modified this to be try this actually. Originally modified this to run on SP32 Spy on the PyPortal. The good news is the original example was written for built-in. Post port. It doesn't want the path in here. I don't know if it wants the slash either. Good. Okay. Got one cookie back. Wants headers. We can even look at the raw headers. I have here, set cookie. Cookies, wants headers. Yeah. Straightforward. Do get 2 back. And I think this has history or whatever, so like it still remembers the first one we got as well. We could probably get rid of it, but I don't know how. Okay, the server is definitely returning 2, but we're definitely only seeing 1 on the PyPortal. So let's test out the B32S2, which I have just a mag tag here to try it on. I think I could just copy actually the original. Original example was made for B32. In fact, actually mag tag specific. Still can't say as though I get. Okay, I see. Read the comments a couple more times, I think. I didn't quite understand what this was doing back when I read this the first time. Kind of makes sense, though. Basically, they might have a comma in the date. And then if they do, that means that splitting here is going to cause trouble. It's going to split in a place it wasn't really expecting to. This is somehow putting them back together. Okay. Does make sense. I almost think maybe different API might be better. Like maybe a response headers set cookie, when you access this, it could be a list instead of a string with commas. If it was a list when you accessed it, then you could just iterate 0, 1, 2, whatever. And then we would never be splitting on commas, and so we wouldn't be worrying about if we accidentally split in the wrong spot or anything. But I also think maybe they base this behavior off of CPython requests, which is what this library is based on. And so if CPython request does use strings and commas, then that's probably what we want to do, because we probably want to match. Oh, it seems to me like a list might be better. Moment. Getting them separated by commas and space. Yeah, this mimics the behavior of Python requests. Once headers items, can we access them that way? I guess this is just headers items, though, not cookies specifically. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I mean, I think a list makes more sense, but if CPython does string with commas, then probably want to match. All right, let me plug in the mag tag. And could probably take a look at what are we running here. Okay. Expecting something older. Of course, I don't really remember when I did this, so update it. While we're here, let's just rule out any kind of old version issues or anything. Reset. Oh, I think maybe I bumped it. Weird though, I would not have thought that there would be a difference between ESP32 SPI and built in like ESP32 S2. Especially the way the requests API work is you kind of like initialize it and then just set the requests to that context or whatever. This is Web Telescope. Reddit. This is a new version. Oh. copied anymore. Okay. Well, so I did not copy the new library, which I think the old library, this was the behavior. Actually kind of makes me want to go back and triple check my PyPortal. Do I have the old version somehow? I've definitely copied the new version to it. It does feel just too coincidental that actually seeing the same behavior as the old version. What we get here, Datafruit gives 2. We were seeing 2 in the browser. And remember, my theory was either one or the other. Either the library wasn't showing us both, but was receiving them, or the other one is that the server was only returning 1 for some reason. And now that I've seen it do the same thing on the Heroku one, I think I'm more inclined to say probably the library just wasn't showing us the second one and instead was keeping the old behavior, which is only show us 1, and it is whichever one comes last is the one that wins, basically. Here. A fairly large payload, not for of like websites on a PC, it's not that big, but in terms of data to fetch inside a microcontroller, it is actually fairly large. I think 20K or something. I'm gonna pull this over here and double check my connected. It's getting double check. I guess I'll switch this over to the Heroku one. Fail over and over. I don't know. I sometimes get in this state where it feels like it just fails requests over and over again, and then like I actually have a secondary network, and I'll switch it to that secondary network, and it'll start working for a while, and then eventually you'll end up back in this state where it seems like every request is going to fail, and then I switch back, and then it starts working on that one. So it's kind of like almost like it just needs to be set or something. Like I'm doing, it's ending up software booting with Control C here, but wondering if there's not like some portion of it that's not actually getting cleared from cache or something over something that's causing it to fail. See, we're getting request failed every time. No. Side windows on. No. No, buddy. No. No. Out the side. Let the side. Good. with the side windows. I promise you, it's all the same stuff out there. Out there. Has been the thing that has cat start talking. This cat, it was never much of an hour, unless like he accidentally got stepped on. He also likes to run under people's feet when they're walking. Another fun game, but like that would be the only time he would make noise for the longest time. We've had him for 2 years. So, good job. But he never really was much of a meower. But now he'll meow all the time because he wants to either climb to the top half of the normal window, just like the front window in the house. Or the other thing he wants to do is get up to the, they call those, we have like windows at the top of our front door. 6-pack of windows, 2x3. And he wants to like jump up there and look out of them, try to hang off of them and stuff. We'll stand there and look at it and meow. Which is kind of cool. I think maybe he learned to meow from the other cat. We had another cat before. And she meows quite a bit. Get your attention, she'll meow. I don't know. Not necessarily feeling like we're having too much luck on the GET request on Adafruit here. Let's go over to the Heroku one. Yeah. Yeah. This. Right here. Case. Yeah. Frozen libraries will get you. Frozen libraries will get you every time, huh? Yeah. Of all people, I should know this because I just talked all about this on Friday. The deep dive. Literally had a discussion about this exact thing. And my hunch about not having the latest one, like I should have. That should have clicked, but it didn't. Luckily, we got all kinds of helpful people. Techtrick set me straight. I think this is exactly right, though. PyPortal Titano, which is what I'm using, has requests built in, which means that it will use the built-in one. So I've been testing I haven't been actually testing, basically. I've been running the old version. Every single test I've done has been under the old version, and I've never actually run the new version. Yeah. And this is built in right there, frozen. Yeah. And I could even delete this, right? Which I should have done as well. This would have also put me down the right path. If I would have deleted this and then saw that it still worked. Actually, it's like frozen right now. It's like stuck. Set button it. Yeah. Yeah, I deleted requests, but it didn't raise an error. It didn't say like, hey, you imported this and it doesn't exist. Okay, so let's actually test this then, instead of whatever I've been doing this whole time, which is not actually testing it. So let's copy this. We need to put it in the root, because if you put your library, oops. If you put your library in the root, it will overwrite the one that's built in. is really nice, actually, when you do want to test this kind of stuff. It's a much larger task if you need to go and build a custom one with the modified library built in, which is actually how I thought you needed to test this for a while. Yeah. Oh man, I cannot believe I did that. Oh well, live and learn, right? Okay. So this is on the PyPortal. It does work. We use the modified one. Everything is fine there. I am 99% sure I can put it back on this PyPortal. And did I say PyPortal a second ago? I meant MagTag if I said PyPortal. That was on the MagTag. Now the PyPortal's plugged in. And now we're going to do it on the PyPortal the correct way. Workspace. So we're going to I'm just going to delete it. So it's gone all the way. We're going to see that it still works because it's built in. It's frozen in. You know, one thing I notice, oh, never mind. Okay, yeah, so it still worked even though I deleted it, which again, like that's a hint. Had I done that before, I probably would have started to unravel this mystery quicker. Which is another reason I like, always deleting the library and then verifying that whatever you're trying fails because the import fails. And if it doesn't, then like you're making assumptions that aren't actually true about the library you're pasting in. Feels like an extra step that's not necessarily all that needed, but in this case it would have saved me. Because if I would have deleted that and then been like, oh, it's still working somehow, how could that be? I would have then started working down the trail here, and yeah, of course, yeah. Now we get to, and we could switch this back over to Git, I'm sure, and adafruit.com, and this would work as well, and everything is actually good. I just was doing a whoopsie, not quite actually testing it the right way. Git. Yeah. Getting 3 actually, which is interesting. I only get 2 on the browser. I don't know what this is. Hopefully this is not something. I mean, I'm not signed in, right? So it can't be like add to my account or anything. Okay. Everything's good. Yeah. Oops. Let's open that back. That'll happen sometimes. Feel like a facepalm in here. Got a facepalm. Facepalm. This doesn't really add anything, but it is true. Can't believe I did that after just discussing it. Dive. Today. Yeah. Like multiple days too, because I checked this out like a couple days ago, and then a day or two after that, I came back to it and picked it up and did it again, and like in all that time, it never occurred to me. Yeah, crazy. Oh well. I will look over the code real fast to prove it. Mostly, what I'm interested in is I'm more interested in does it work and does it match requests. I suspect there's not. I'm not super familiar with the code base anyway, so I don't know that there's anything that I'm likely to find that would be like code style issue or anything. Honestly, the actual change is really small. Actually, yeah, this is the only change right here. It used to just go. It used to just go put the content into headers and then whatever the title is. So in our case, the title would be set cookie. The content would be the actual data, like this whole string here, starting with wish list, going down to secure. So it would put that whole thing into the dictionary value. Put the whole thing in there. Now it just has a special check if it is set cookie. And if set cookie is already in the headers, then append it, basically add it as a string with a comma. Yeah. Otherwise, just add it like it was. So set cookie is the only header where it's different. Just appends it together. I am slightly interested. Okay. Headers. Okay. Yeah, sure does. Comma, stick them right on. Wonder why they went with that. There's probably a reason that I don't understand, but it does feel very much like a list would be superior to the commas, because I also don't think like I'm pretty sure you can just put a comma in your cookie value too, which would throw this off. I don't think there's any rule against that from the server side. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm also not like trained really on backend stuff. I don't have any like formal education on it, so it's possible that that's not allowed, and I'm not aware of it. But I think, and the thing that makes me think that it's okay is that I'm pretty sure that I've stored JSON inside cookies before, and JSON has commas after each value. As long as you have more than one value in like an object, then you'll have commas. But it does match. Doesn't really matter that I think it should be different, because really what we want is to match CPython. I think it would make sense for CPython to be a list too, but it doesn't. And so it doesn't really matter that I think that. Yeah. The actual change does make sense. There's really not a lot to it. The new example is good. We ultimately ran this on the mag tag unmodified and it did work. It'd be nice to have the PyPortal version, but it's also not that hard to change it over. And as long as we have one example that shows it, I think that is okay. And if somebody wants to modify it for the PyPortal and do it as a future PR, then that's totally welcome. So we can always do that. And so I don't think it's worth like holding it up to do that. Oops, I did a comment. I'm gonna do an approve technically. It doesn't really matter that much, but we'll do approve specifically here. I think we're ready to merge this. Oh. YouTube paused on me. Tune's running. I do have the window open. I thought I was gonna get cold. Warm. Let's see, maybe I'll be off here in a minute. So we merged it. Let's make a release. Make a release here. Oh, we could also. Does this close? Was it linked or whatever? Did it close the? 108. This feels like a middle number bump because there's new functionality. You used to just literally not be able to access any cookies except for the last one. Now you can. So that's a new feature, and that sounds like a middle number bump to me. And then I guess also, I don't know exactly how it works off the top of my head. I've done it once, twice maybe. Twice, but I don't remember the process for getting it updated inside the core, basically. I think it's like, oh wow, there's some view ones. Interesting. 111.2. So we're gonna go 112.0. Handle multiple set cookie headers. Capitals, except set cookie I think should be lowercase because it's literally in the response it literally is lowercase letters. Capitalization and title doesn't matter that much anyway, but this release handles multiple set cookie headers by appending all values into a comma separated string. Thank you. Mark. One 112.0, 11.2, 112.0 is definitely higher than that. Middle number, like we said, looks good. Published. Close that so I don't save it. Okay. See if I can find the last one I did. Okay. All right, well, we'll give it a try. I think, say all I did was like fetch and pull submod. Problem is I still have some changes here. Let's see. Not using function. Basically what I'd like to get back to this today as well. Okay, so I think I got it set up now where I have precommit. It runs and it does this fail if if like the formatting check fails. Yeah, it will show me the commit failed the first time, but then I can just commit again and it works because the formatting check actually makes the changes. I guess we could always just not push this for now, and then it will save the actions from running, which is kind of nice actually. That. Go back to main. Let's pull main. Updated. I don't remember how I updated that submodule. Update submodule. Update submodule. Why? See, here's this cookie thing I was talking about. This is what they had to add for that. I think at least my understanding is they had to add this basically for that law in Europe. It says like, here's all the types of cookies we use broken out into the categories and then on-off switches for all the ones that are not quote unquote strictly necessary. I don't know who decides what's strictly necessary or not, but it's submodules. For each pull. Okay. Or just get pull inside of it would work. Minute to update here, huh? I did it on stream. I can find it. Goes up to date. And it should have done this already, I think. Changes. West. E6B. Different. So was the previous one? No, B726. Oops. Try to copy. But copy is Control C, and Control C also does stop the thing that's running. Not gonna let me. Still printing. I'll let it finish then. I need to highlight it and right click it, but as soon as something else changes, as soon as it prints more stuff down here, undoes whatever's highlighted. All right, let's finally. Actually had a couple of different. Just as hash, which I guess is. I mean, the hash is the whole thing. It joined truncated. Full commit. Yeah. So Other thing here. Wait, does it need to fetch for? Um, hopefully this is gonna fetch back to the. Seven. This feels. I feel like I didn't really know how to do this. I hoping maybe I would have said here, like, since because I remember not being sure if I did it right. And maybe I wrote out here like what I did, but I think the way I'm gonna do this is go open thing separately. So 49AB, is that the end of this? Okay, what that is. I'm inside of register. There we go. 27056. That's what we're looking for. All right. That's a different button. Is we need to see more of this. So yeah, these things I don't always get. I shouldn't say I don't always get. I should say I just don't get. I don't. They're not on a branch, or they are on a branch. They're on a commit instead of a branch. I don't really know how that works exactly. But these like they don't track main. They're like stuck on a specific commit. In this case, it's this one. What we want to do is update main. Oh no, we wouldn't want to merge main into this though, would we? Hey, what we're always just start over again. I don't know. Keyboard So actually, in two birds, one stone here. See if anybody writes back on this. I actually made a PR in this library separately. But yeah, if they pressed Control C, then it doesn't really matter what line it was on. But let's take a look at what line this is. Button. Alright, so I'm going to unplug the Pi portal. I'm going to plug in the Feather TFT, which I also have right here. This one happens to have the timestamper on it, but I sometimes wish there was more material showing people basically like trying to level people up from using these helper libraries into knowing how to create labels and put stuff on the display and change colors and handle buttons and all of that without the helper library. The helper libraries are really, really nice for folks that are brand new. But they kind of have a ceiling in that if you want to do something differently than the way the library is set up, you get kind of stuck and you have to like make huge sweeping changes to your project in order to switch everything over to like, you know, quote unquote, doing stuff manually with those other libraries instead of this like monolithic helper library. That I think is maybe a something to work on. I guess an opportunity for improvement would be a good bridge that gets people from using the helper libraries like Circuit Playground and PyPortal, and in this case Feather TFT, and then learn what's inside of there to be able to actually do it manually on their own without the helper library. That way they can pick and choose the parts they want, and they can also get have a better ability to customize it. But right now, you run into folks and they want to use they do use the helper library, which is great if they're brand new, especially because it gets them up and running really easily. But then if they want to stray too far from the beaten path, then it's a rough learning curve because they kind of have to learn about label and displays and display IO, and it's not that much stuff, and none of it is really that hard, but it is more than the helper libraries, right? The helper libraries do a very good job of kind of hiding a lot of the details. And I just know because like this person is saying they're trying to learn how to draw on the screen. Make update frozen libraries. Minute. This is super weird. If this person is, I kind of think they're still pressing Control C, maybe. Because this doesn't add text, add text, add text. Show, splash, set text, LED, either true or false based on the button. If button, NeoPixel 0 random. Nothing in here touches the network. Secrets shouldn't matter. Over a minute. So did they left it running for a minute and it just never printed anything? Then they pressed Control C and then it printed this? We do have a while true and we do have a display show. Yeah, mine's working already actually. Version are we on? You know, slight deja vu with this. Somebody else came into the chat and said this example was not doing anything for them. I tried this out. Now that I've seen this yellow screen, Don't need this. Now that I see this yellow screen, this rings a bell. Somebody else reported that this wasn't doing anything, and I tested it out on my device and it seemed to be working normally. And I don't recall any more follow-up after that. But I remember seeing this before. I tested this before and it was, I think the person was reporting the same issue. I have 730. They said 725. I'll match that. Updating. The only other thing I mean, they would get an error about a missing library. If they didn't have Portal Base, or if they had a wrong version of Portal Base or anything like that, it should raise it's an error, and it seemed like they're. Why does not Feather TFT work? Just TFT? Sorry, I'm fascinated by actions between computers and people. I see weird stuff like that, and I want to have compulsion to go back and test the bounds. I'm gonna go reset. Oh, these buttons are tiny. Go. Bootloader. Did they ever paste the code? And 36. The other thing is usually if people are not seeing anything on the display, one thing to look for is display.io.release displays. Sometimes people get that copied into their script when they don't need it, and then either there will be like the display is none and that will raise an exception, or sometimes you'll just won't see anything. It could happen as well. So this is that text color. Correct, okay. And I don't know. Yeah, because on mine that's still working. I keep doing. displays together. Actually, that actually succeeded once, but then failed after I redid it again. So somehow it like still had it cached or something. Odd. My version of CircuitPython is out of date. Okay, this is weirding me out. It just did this again. I changed the name of this. I restarted. I did it 2 or 3 times this time, and it worked successfully. You can't see it. I don't have the camera pulled up, but it drew the screen. Everything worked. And all I did is restart it a few more times. Like this time, it worked. This time, it worked. And all I did is restart it a few more times, and then it stopped working. I don't think this should be required either. I don't know. This is, I guess, my other sort of philosophical struggle it comes with, I guess, with these libraries is like, here's the one I'm remembering. Okay, so this was a GitHub issue. I was thinking it was going to be on Discord, but it wasn't. It was a GitHub issue. I did test it out. I tested it out, and it worked for me. And I asked about the serial console. Got nothing. So this is the second person who's had this. Doesn't affect all feathers. Interesting. So I do wish we could run the simple test without secrets. Trace this back a bit. Because, like, it doesn't use the network, right? Why do we need a Wi-Fi network? What if I just didn't have a Wi-Fi network? I mean, I guess I could put bogus stuff in or something, but, like, I don't know. The whole point of the helper library is to get folks up and running quickly. I think it should allow them to go without secrets. Of course, unless they're going to use the network, right? If you want to make a request to the network, you obviously have to have secrets because you have to get on the network. But, in this case, we're not. We're just not touching the network. I don't see why it would be required. Let's take a peek in the code. Kind of off the beaten path here. I was working on PRs. I'm going to get back around to the core. I'm going to update that. I'm going to circle back around, but I'm going to entertain this rabbit hole for just a minute here. Let's see init. What is this? Init, what was it? 85. 85, it initializes the network. Inside network 68, it initializes Wi-Fi, which calls into portal base 103. Does look up secrets. It is not none. Can we just give it an empty dictionary? Is an empty dictionary not none? It shouldn't be none, right? Shouldn't be. import argument. We had like use network. Oh my. Why do I have ESP32 SPI? Circuit did. Counts as a dependency for, I guess it's, this wants portal base, and then my next guess is that portal base has a requirement of 32 SPI. Quests? Huh. All right, well, let's not get down another secondary rabbit hole. I don't know. EMQ. I don't know. Something made it think it needed ESP32 SPI. I actually don't. It's because it does, it's not using ESP over SPI. Built in ESP32S2, part of the main chip. Oh, okay, but I defaulted it to true, right? Because we want to keep the behavior the same, I guess. Variable reference for assignment. Hit line 100. Put this in here. Called super init. I mean, my instinct is, I think my instinct is that this example, it is a simple test and that it does one of the most basic things. Really, I guess my recommendation to people would be like, if you're trying to use this library for graphics only, I'm probably biased. I work on display IO stuff a lot, and I'm very familiar with it at this point. But my recommendation is like, if you're not trying to do network stuff, I would just skip this library altogether. Just learn about labels and groups and adding things to the display and showing things. The buttons, I guess, are nice, right? Peripheral buttons, being able to just do like that button and get true false. That's pretty nice. NeoPixel's already initialized for you. That's pretty nice as well. Really, the network stuff, though, is where these libraries excel, in my mind. Play stuff like let's back up and do it with the libraries. But I'm also biased, right? Like, I work on display IO stuff a lot. I'm very familiar with it at this point. So it's easy for me to say, like, this stuff is easy. It's not that hard. You should just do it that way. But, like, for a beginner, it could be. I do think this is a good idea, though. If we have this use network true, and then if you do pass it false, then you could be able to use this without needing secrets spy rather. That'd be great. And it did seem to work. And I think this does something if you press the boot button. Yeah, so the NeoPixel goes crazy on you there, and also the screen, which I'm covering up and you can't really see it all, but it changed what it says. Oh, did it? Maybe it didn't. Oh, it changed the color. Very subtle. You can kind of see it there. It's going from black when it's not pressed to red when it is pressed. So it's registering that click and it's changing the color. And it's also cycling the NeoPixel to just random blinkies. So this seems to work. I'm going to PR this as a suggestion for, like, let's let people do this without needing secret spy. And I'll change the example as well, actually. Because I don't know. For a brand new person, like, they're just trying to run this. They're just trying to draw a couple things on the screen, see how it works. They're not at the point where they really need to do secrets yet. There's no reason I don't think we should be stopping them from doing the basics of the display on account of them not setting up secrets yet. They'll definitely have to when the time comes that they want to make requests to the network, but I think let's let them play around on the display without if they want. It is weird, I guess, because now this is, like, different than all the others. Maybe this should be done inside portal base? I don't know. I'm not 100% clear on the way that the extending works in here, because this does extend portal base, but, like, portal base also does a bunch of this stuff. I don't know if I'm not sure exactly how the inheritance. I'm not really sure how the inheritance is working in these libraries yet. Maybe it would be good to have this at the portal base level. That way, all of the other ones like PyPortal and MagTag and all the rest of them could also similarly allow you to not need that if you're not going to actually touch the network. But we'll PR it here first. Melissa or somebody will look it over. Tell me if that's the case, and I'll go and do that if that's the case. Else, I guess run precommit. I'm paranoid. I like to run it again. If it makes changes, you don't really need to run it again, but I like to run it again and just make sure everything passes. Well, it's superstitious. I will test it again, so I'm going to copy this one. I'm going to delete it altogether. Sure that I actually got it correct. Paste this. So delete all of this. Copy it from here. Whoa, we don't want. There we go. Copy it from here. Yeah. Perfect. LED's going. The text changed to red. Behavior looks good. Last time I made a PR. I didn't do it, well, not the last time. Sometime recently I made a PR and I did run precommit, but I didn't do the docs build, and then it failed on and I had to go back and fix something with docs. Yeah, okay, so let's go get remote -v. Yeah, git checkout new branch. Don't require secrets if no network. From Adafruit main, no track. This. Go to Funday. But also, I guess this person probably was having the same issue back here. They never did reply again. Right place. So, if this person ever comes back, there'll be a pointer there. They know to update. If anybody else in the future finds this from like a something, they'll see that as well. I don't know why this went to one line. $725 now, right? Because I downgraded to the. It probably works on 7. What was the other one was? My best guess is like either this will be all right as is, or maybe Maker Melissa will say to go put it into Portal Base instead here. Guess I'll do that because it'd be nice to have the other ones work the same too. Like MagTag and PyPortal and Matrix Portal. You should be. I think at least you should be able to use the display, the buttons and the pixels, all the stuff that aren't the network. You should be able to do all that without Secret Spy. I think it'd be great. So if that's the direction, if that's the way to make it work, then I'll go there too. Or only over there if it only needs to be there. I don't know. Again, I don't know how the inheritance is. Really. All right, back to the core. This is where we branched off. Doc, NearDoc helped me a bunch in the last few days. Got a hug report for NearDoc this week. Make updated frozen down. Okay. B6, B3. Watching. Oh, NearDoc. A little while ago. Oh, and C Grover too. Wow, sorry guys, I missed all of this stuff back when I was talking about this. Moving beyond big helper libraries, that would be a good learn guide. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, sorry to you too. I was not maybe I just didn't see it or something. I feel like it didn't show me a red 1 for this one. I also didn't hear any ping noise either, I don't think. Got music running though. Maybe it just blended into the music. I do like this idea, moving beyond big helper libraries. I do like this as like a intermediate learn guide. The learn guides are all like, they have like basic or intermediate levels or whatever. This would make a pretty good intermediate learn guide. Like, all right, you got your feet wet, you've made a couple of projects, you know, maybe you followed a couple learn guides using like PyPortal or Circuit Playground or, you know, stuff like that, portal based, you know, based ones, any of the different ones. And now you want to learn like under, you know, you want to lift the hood, you know, learn underneath like how those things work. It's a good simple test if it's not using the native networking. I think it is still. I know this was from well, this one actually was about 10 minutes ago. I think it is still a good simple test. I mean, I don't know if you were here earlier when I was talking about it a little bit. I think I'm biased towards just using like label and the rest of the display IO modules and libraries and things. So if somebody were coming to me specifically and they were saying, hey, I want to learn how to draw stuff on the display on this device, I probably would tend to point them towards label and the display IO guide and the stuff like that. But I also recognize like that is probably a bias, and it is probably easier for a newbie to understand the code that is here, because there's fewer different objects related, right? This is kind of like just build this one primary object which kind of handles everything for you, and there's functions that are well named, you know, add text, set text color. I think there's a change text or something. There's a way to update the text as well, I'm pretty sure. Being able to access the buttons, the built-in LED, the built-in NeoPixel, all of that sort of stuff all at once, I think is all nice. And I do think that, you know, generally speaking, not using a network is simpler than using a network. So for a simple test, I think it's okay. I will say what I do think probably is we should have another example. There should be at least one more that does use the network, because that is like a big component of what the library is for. So I would like to see another one. Maybe I'll make it and PR it. But I do think it's fine to not have one that uses network. In fact, I will say it's a bit of, I think PyPortal doesn't. And I think in the past I have kind of thought to myself, I don't know if I ever said it or did anything about it anywhere, but I have kind of thought to myself in the past, like, it'd be nice if there was one that didn't use the network. Because, like, the simple test here does use the network. In fact, the simple test here is almost really just the requests simple test. Okay, this one is not using the network. It's making a QR code which happens to have a URL in it, so it's tangential. Oh. You can import these modules separately. Add text is not in here. Not in here either. Add text must come from portal base. Maybe that's the answer. Melissa will probably tell me if that's the case too. Maybe this could work more like this. Maybe the simple test that's here could, instead of just importing the full thing like this and initializing the full thing, maybe it could instead import peripherals and graphics. But that also starts to make the code a little bit more difficult to understand, I guess. It kind of defeats the purpose of them all being together on the one object. I don't know. Good thought, though. Maybe there's room there. Make more sense if portal base only would only throw secrets when the board needs it. I do think this is true. Yeah, I do think that would make. Yeah. I haven't looked at the code. Is that how it accesses secrets, I guess, probably? Parentheses. this is a new thing. Maybe you're not modifying existing code, but making a new property. That, or it's actually not in portal base. Not here, but so that's probably a new property. Current way is to import unconditionally at the start of the file. Okay. Instead of the current way, we would make a new property secrets. We would always access it using that property, and then inside that property, but we also do need like except import attribute print. I would have to try it out. The other thing I don't necessarily think we want is I don't think it should print this if the user code doesn't touch the network. So for instance, in the simple test, I would want it to not print this. Printing this would be better than just raising the exception. I do grant that, but I think it would be great if it didn't, because it could start to confuse them. It could make them think they need to do this. Ideally, if they don't touch the network, it just wouldn't start trying to get the secrets. But I suspect, based on the way the chain we followed earlier, so inside of init here, this was initializing the network. Inside of there, it was initializing the super, which is network base. Then inside of there was back into portal base. It is accessing secrets during the initializer. So even if we did make that property change, I think it would be nice to also alter the init behavior so that it just doesn't that. But it's also like it can't know when you initialize it, right? The way that I added the argument is really the only way that it could know at a time. Is like at the time it gets initialized, it has no idea what the code that comes next is. So it doesn't know if you're going to use the network or not unless you tell it. So even if we did have a property like that, the way the initializers work might still run all of this stuff and end up printing this. I guess the ultimate way that it would change would be maybe inside of here it should just not do network, and instead it would just set like, where does network go? I guess network gets passed into here. Basically, I think what would be best is if we just inside the initializer, well, if you give it a URL, then it should set up network. If you give it headers, if you give it a JSON path, a regex path, status neopixel JSON transform, if you give it any of those, it should probably go ahead and set up the network. If you don't give it any of those, then I think it should set the network to none, and then inside of here or wherever it starts making actual requests, you could basically just say like, whenever the user makes the first request that's actually trying to use the network, not request, but like the first function call, there's a Wi-Fi enabled, then it would, if network is none, then do the initialization for it. It would shift some of the waiting time as well. Then you wouldn't wait for it to initialize at the beginning. Instead, it would be when you made the first call. Yeah. Okay. But if we did have that property, it may not actually end up printing. That I'd be down with trying this one out as well. Do you think it'd be great to print that stuff for them? Where did I end up back here? Did this actually update? Oh, all right. So I was gonna go look at the commit to E6B. Is that what we ended up on with requests? Yeah. So I guess the other thing is though, this did all of them. Hit checkout. Oh, back. Okay, we do have this already. Git checkout dash b update frozen from root main no track. One thing is now there's going to be kind of a lot of I need to fetch also. I should be seeing the changes to the actual file. Did I, or does it only show that on GitHub? Maybe GitHub is smart enough to like follow the link or whatever. Fetch. Interesting. I do think last time I did this, I did only a single one somehow. 7th. Stream. Oh. All right. Well, we got to lead at least. I'll come. I don't want to like sit here rip through that now. But maybe I can look back there and see how I did the show multiple things now. That must be like a GitHub thing, I guess. I guess like the actual local file that changed is just the file that contains this hash. But then I think by the time you get it into a PR, I think GitHub on the list of changes shows you the actual changes inside of these. I guess, I mean, I suppose one thing I could do is uncheck all of these and then check requests. Maybe that's what I should. I mean, I probably good to update all of these, but also I have no idea what happened in the rest of these. accidentally break something for. Yeah, let's just do record. Oh, what? Huh. Gonna make a flow chart or something? Never accidentally been there before. Never purposely. Or well, not main, but update frozen actually. Frozen. I commit. Right. Push it though. Reached the run around like a crazy little cat thing. Thank you both, by the way, for the suggestions and help and such. Got here. I know I missed it for a little while, but really appreciated. Didn't work. Um. So weird though. It doesn't even show that commit, but I got push success. Show that commit. Oh, I know it does. Oh, I have done correct this somehow. I almost lean towards just cloning CircuitPython again. I don't really understand what state I'm in. It's very possible that it's not actually broken and I just need to run the right commands or whatever, but I don't know how to tell, and I don't know what the right commands. I do know if I just clone again, I don't have to mess with wondering. I mean, this part strikes me as odd. I don't see why I would be on this still. Maybe close and reopen. Refreshing. Generally, that should show me the branch I'm on. Update frozen. Not. So that part does seem correct. Interestingly, the terminal knows the branch I'm on. PyCharm doesn't. By checking it out, I don't even know what's on it. I don't have a mind. Not when I don't have a file open. Mind of its own. Don't have any changes. It doesn't have anything. Check this. Let me add any. Yeah. This one. New CircuitPython. Huh. Huh. Already did this. I wonder why it's not part of the CI check. To like basically run that command, and if it updates anything, then fail the PR. That way, every PR would have to get updated. I guess that would be kind of a pain. Created a PR and then a bunch of libraries changed. But I mean, theoretically, you would just merge from main, which you already have to do sometimes. just have no changes. Already in a weird state though. We're not on the branch we just created. Um Oh, maybe my problem is I would have needed to run this first. Maybe I had no frozen repos because I never ran this the first time. That's probably it. Why that seemed different. Although I don't know why I ended up in another one of these, like not on a branch anymore. I'm on like a broken commit or something. I don't understand why I would be on that and not the branch that I. Hopefully we can get back. Or like maybe we should have Adabot do this. Like once a night, if there's new versions of libraries, then it just clones CircuitPython, runs this command, makes a new branch, makes a commit, pushes it, makes a pull request out of it. The way we're like more constantly always up to date. It seems like right now it's just manual. Whenever somebody comes along and updates it manually, then makes a pull request from it, then it's updated in the core. Maybe I'm not. Maybe there's more to it though that I don't know about yet. Yeah. You going, buddy? What's your food? That actually, I'm gonna do that actually while this is doing its thing here. I'll be back in a minute. Perfect timing. Okay, so didn't do it. Let's let it do this. At least still thinks I'm on this thing. Get what this. I'm on a commit instead of a branch. Possible, but can you check out a commit? Oh, hey, what's the purple one? Thanks. It's possible. Not like a totally unknown thing, but I don't know why. I don't know why I ended up there. No changes. Well, I guess I have no changes because I did that stuff out of order. That makes sense, probably. I think I would need to do, because it was a new clone, I would need to do fetch submodules first and then update frozen. Okay, now we're at least back to here. So I'm still on updating requests. I'm gonna go only requests. Still on updating requests. Update frozen requests. Guy updating requests. Okay, well, hopefully that's the right thing. We are Fumigai, new branch, yes, push it. Recommit would have not, I guess, actually, because I didn't install it on this instance. I probably would have to do that since I cloned new. But now do I actually have a branch? Some of these. Well, close back on to. Okay, you have a difference now. There. Ah, yeah, okay. So GitHub, specifically GitHub's web interface, is able to take that difference of a commit and it like fills in the actual differences inside that target repo. Whereas PyCharm locally doesn't make that leap for me. Showing me the changes here as actually it's not showing me them for some reason, but it really what it would do if it could show them, which it does sometimes. I'm not sure why it's not showing me right now actually. It would show me just like a file that contains a hash, the commit hash, and it would show the old one and the new one. So that's like the local file that's actually getting pushed in, but GitHub knows what's up. It knows that that local file actually represents a link to another repo, and it goes ahead and fills it in for us. That's where we're at. And this does look good. It's got all the updated stuff in it, including the multiple cookies thing, which is from our newest commit. Dating Fruit requests frozen module. Get the latest version with better handling of multiple tricky. All right, and then this will do all of the builds, which will be good because we'll want to know if it made anything too big. Hopefully it didn't, but what else? I will got about 50 minutes until the meeting. I need to fill in my notes still. I'll probably have a snack or something to eat first as well. Things super cool. We can test that later on. You know, the other thing I still want to get back into is inside Adabot, checking for draft, and then putting like draft, something like this, to where it would tell you it's a draft right here. I'll do that this afternoon. You know what this is? Is it EMC? Is this a motor driver? Brushless fan control. Oh wow, interesting. Person's using this library on a server. I guess through Blinka probably. So I don't think I have this device. Fans at 1.2. threw me for a loop for a minute because I think there might actually be a stemma cable down here, but maybe not. I was like, dang, that is like the shortest stemma wire I've ever seen, but it's not actually. It's not connected that way. It's the pins soldered, and then it's using the breadboard for the connections. Okay. So I do think I definitely have one of these because it shows here. Maybe I can find this and test it. Honestly, these specific changes to all of this stuff is a bit over my head. I mean, I understand like it's adding a bunch of constants to be able to look up those registers. But as far as like this stuff, I don't really know what. I mean, I guess it's reading. It's setting up registers to be able to read and write from later on. Okay, it made these constants. I do like new one of these rounding. I can't say as though I understand all of these new things that were added, but what I can do is I can test it. I think I got some fans at one point too. I bought a couple of fans to test an older PR or something, I think is what I got this for. But this one is also not something I can just do real fast right now. May not. We may come up empty here. Try a couple more. The dark mode. It was, yeah. Well, it probably was. I have this dark reader is a Chrome plugin thing. Chrome reader. This thing, and then you can turn it on and off, like the top level switch. Like you could just turn it on or off for your browsing session, but you can also somehow set up individual sites as well. So you could say like if you want dark mode on this site but not some other one, you can do it that way as well. And it's basically like just changing the CSS in the background to be better. Well, to be dark mode, like taking white and turning it into dark gray and such. It doesn't, I will say, fair warning, it doesn't work on every page. Adafruit's page works pretty good. A lot of pages work pretty good, but occasionally there are some where you go to it and it's still light mode. Which is an extra big bummer if you are used to dark mode, because it will blind you. You're not expecting it, but I mean, it won't really blind you probably, but it's very bright when you occasionally find one that is still white page for whatever reason. Their CSS is just different or something. Just ask for dark mode. So there was a dark mode in the Learn guide for like 3 or 4 days. I saw this. I swear it existed, and it did not come from my plugin. I'm almost certain. But there was like 3 or 4 days where I came to the Learn Guide system and it was a dark background. And the other thing that I remember about it is the buttons. These buttons, instead of blue, they were pink. And it was all like black in the background and everything. And I thought it looked super good. I assumed that they were testing like to make that an option. I don't know if they just decided they didn't like it, or maybe I am wrong, and maybe that was somehow a plugin of mine, but it seemed very, it would be quite a coincidence if they happened to land on pink for this, if it was a plugin, if it was something unrelated to Adafruit, because the branding felt very, very Adafruity, right? Dark reader like this, it doesn't really know the branding of the page or anything. It's just trying to make stuff dark generally. So it's probably not going to change that blue to anything else. So yeah, there may have been some work on it at one point. I don't know when or where or if it will ever show up again, but I do tend to prefer dark mode, especially later at night. Draft 2. I really want to figure out that draft thing. I'm gonna ping Mark on these this week. Hey! No climbing. I know, but don't climb the window. Stop, buddy. Get your. Okay. Food lasted for a while to distract him, but good, I guess. So I did check into this one already. There's a couple changes. Hey, stop climbing the window, buddy. Alright. We have removed him from the window. Hopefully he'll here with me for a minute. So. Okay, I test this one today for sure. But it's also necessarily a quick test. Keep it open though. This afternoon. Hey. Another fun game that he likes to play is grab your leg and bite it. Lee gotten to the point where he bites it a little bit more gently now, so that's nice. Quite as good as if we could just not grab people's legs and bite them. Alright. Well, it's kind of long, I guess, but like mostly cosmetic stuff. Types. This doesn't have merge conflicts now. Good. Type is, so it's not going to know the type. Any does kind of make sense there. It's called it value instead of object is more correct though, because that's the name. Bytes. Bytes or I say, is that a single byte instead of bytes? But nope. It's bytes. I just learned about literal recently. Tetrick actually was the one that showed me about this. Roll integer? Talking to bytes, yeah. Isn't integral is a different thing though, right? This is an actual concept that exists, isn't it? Oh. Okay, it's like a synonym, I guess. Integer is definitely the term I am more familiar with, so I think that's a good change. Int. Quick header. Thing here. Length int returns int. AVD. AVD. Prime error. I would have assumed that these were just like generically lettered, but then it's not C, it's D. Find strange. Ideally, it'd be nice if these had better names, unless this is like some formula where they are literally known as A, B, and D. Is possible. I probably wouldn't be the one to know, but only I would opt for more descriptive names if possible. That didn't change with this PR though, right? Tetrick just added the type, so necessarily need to be part of this PR even if we do change it. Your argument in return. Int good. Int ceiling function of a division between. I guess ceiling would then make it back to an integer. Division by itself would of course give us a float, but then using ceiling on top of that, back to an integer. A and B, tuple. Yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll keep doing this for another couple of minutes, but then 12:30 or so, like 2-3 minutes, I think I'll stop for now, run and grab a snack, fill in my meeting notes for the day. We have a meeting today? Did get the ping, did I? Meeting today? Tomorrow because of Easter? Today? Oh, I need to read this as well. That off the calendar. Easter Monday. Got any host about the actual one that's in. Oh, right. This is the one that's gonna wrap early. Remember that. Can't close this X button or something. Just clicking this not doing anything. Huh. Alright. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna head out, grab a snack, fill that in. I'll get back to doing this stuff this afternoon though. I'm not running the meeting today, so I'll have more time in the afternoon and I'll be back to reviewing PRs and stuff. I'm gonna try to get through a good stack of reviews, and then the other thing I would like to do is work my way back around to my own PR that's in the core for the tile grid stuff. Did not end up coming back to that over the weekend, so I do need to finish that up, and I would like to do it today. But I should do some of the other PRs first. So I'm on def CRT. I'm gonna kind of highlight this because this is the first thing I haven't really looked at yet. I'll just come back to this tab later. Oh, it is. For the weekly meeting. All right, so I'm gonna head out. Thanks for watching. I may pop the stream back on in the afternoon. We'll be working on the same kind of stuff. So if you're interested in getting the notification or anything, you can follow me on Twitch. That's probably the easiest way to know if I do end up coming back or not. But thank you for watching, Neardoc and Seagrover. Thanks for the help in the chat there. Appreciate you all, and yeah, I'll catch you in the meeting, and then maybe a little later on this afternoon as well. See ya.